Hey there, coin collectors. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're exploring some of the rarest, most valuable US quarters. Some may even be in your collection right now. From fascinating histories to minting errors and incredible values, these coins prove that old is gold. Let's dive in. Our first coin is a true gem for collectors, the 1978 Washington quarter with the D Mint mark. Now, if you're familiar with US coinage, you probably know that the Washington quarter is a staple in American currency. But what makes the 1978 D version so special, especially in its MS-68 grade, is that this quarter is one of the most valuable quarters ever minted. In fact, in 2021, a pristine MS-68 grade 1978 D quarter sold for a staggering $32,400. Yes, you heard that right, $32,400 for a coin from 1978. So, what makes this coin so valuable? Well, it comes down to two things, condition and rarity. In the world of coin collecting, coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded as MS-68 is considered to be in near-perfect condition. We're talking about a coin with almost no wear, no scratches, and certainly no imperfections. This kind of condition is what collectors dream of when they think of the perfect coin. Now, let's talk a bit about why this particular quarter is so rare. While millions of 1978 Washington quarters were minted, very few of them managed to survive in the kind of pristine condition needed to achieve an MS-68 grade. The design of the coin features George Washington, the first president of the United States, on the front, and a majestic eagle on the back. However, it's the mint mark that makes this quarter stand out. The D on the coin indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint, and that's the key factor in its rarity. During the late 1970s, the U.S. Mint produced a huge number of quarters to keep up with demand, and most of these coins were heavily circulated. That means, over time, they got worn down, scratched, or otherwise damaged. The reality is, most 1978 D quarters you find today are far from perfect. But every once in a while, a coin like this one comes along, one that has somehow escaped the usual wear and tear and remains nearly flawless. And that's where the value lies. A coin like this one, struck with perfect detail, with no marks, scratches, or signs of handling, represents the very best that the minting process has to offer. Collectors are willing to pay top dollar for coins in such immaculate condition because they are the closest thing we have to what the coin looked like when it was first struck. It's a piece of history preserved in time. Now, don't be fooled. While the 1978 D quarter in average condition is pretty easy to find and relatively inexpensive, the ones in MS-68 grade are a different story. Only a tiny fraction of these coins made it to such pristine condition, and that's why they're so sought after by collectors. They're rare, they're beautiful, and they are a prime example of what makes coin collecting so exciting. So, if you're out there hunting for quarters and come across a 1978 D, take a moment to examine it carefully. You just might have a treasure on your hands, one that could be worth far more than you'd expect. And remember, in the world of coin collecting, it's not just about how old a coin is or how many were made, it's about how well it survived over time. And this 1978 D quarter is one that truly stands the test of time. Next, let's talk about a coin that has really caught the eye of collectors over the years, the 1983 P Washington quarter, especially in an MS-65 grade. In fact, back in 2014, one of these quarters sold for a staggering $15,863. Now, that's pretty incredible when you think about it. This coin isn't that old compared to some of the other rarities we talk about, but it can still fetch a jaw-dropping price. So, what makes this relatively recent coin so valuable? Well, the story behind the 1983 P quarter starts with its production. In 1983, the U.S. Mint produced a massive number of these coins, probably more than you'd expect. But here's the thing, high production numbers don't always translate to higher value. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The larger the production run, the more likely coins are to end up in poor condition after years of circulation. And as you can guess, not all of these coins survived in pristine condition. Despite the high production, the 1983 P quarter's rarity comes from how few survived in excellent shape. You see, when a coin is minted in large quantities, it tends to get used a lot. That means it's going to be subjected to wear and tear over time. Scratches, dings, or just general handling can make the coin lose its mint luster. So finding one of these quarters in great condition is actually quite rare. That's what makes the 1983 P quarter in MS65 grade so sought after. Now, what does MS65 mean, exactly? In the world of coin grading, MS65 stands for Mint State 65, which is considered a gem uncirculated grade. In other words, it's a quarter that's been preserved almost perfectly. It has very few, if any, noticeable signs of wear. When you're talking about coins from the 1980s, finding one in this kind of shape is pretty special. So why was the 1983 P quarter so hard to find in top condition? Well, back in the early 1980s, the US Mint was under a lot of pressure to produce large quantities of coins to meet the increasing demand for currency. But, during this time, they were also experimenting with different minting techniques. This led to some inconsistencies in quality control. More coins were struck with imperfections like scratches, bag marks, or other minor flaws. That's why most of the 1983 P quarters are not in high-grade condition. But the ones that managed to stay in perfect shape. Also, let's not forget that the demand for high-quality, well-preserved coins is a big reason behind their value. Collectors love coins that are in gem uncirculated condition because they represent the pinnacle of minting. These coins are often the best examples of their kind, and as you can imagine, collectors are willing to pay a premium for them. So, the next time you're going through your quarters, keep an eye out for a 1983 P in great condition. You never know, you might just have one of these rare gems that's worth more than its face value. It's all about finding that perfect combination of rarity and preservation. Next, let's take a look at a coin that's not just packed with history but could also be hiding some serious value, the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter, especially the ones with a D mint mark. These quarters were minted to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the American Revolution, and while they're a familiar part of U.S. currency, there's more to them than meets the eye. Some of these quarters, particularly error coins from the bicentennial series, can sell for upwards of $19,000. Sounds crazy, right? But let's dive into why. So, what's the deal with the bicentennial quarters and their D mint mark? The D mint mark indicates that these quarters were struck at the Denver Mint, one of the main coin production facilities in the U.S. While most of these quarters may seem like everyday change, a few of them have minting errors that make them extremely rare, and therefore valuable. These are what we call error coins. During the minting process, a handful of these bicentennial quarters were struck with design flaws or mistakes. These errors could range from off-center strikes, where the image on the coin is misaligned, to more dramatic issues like double die errors, where the design was unintentionally struck twice, creating a blurry or doubled image. One of the most famous errors is the no mint mark version. Normally, the D mint mark would be clearly visible on the reverse side of the coin, indicating it came from the Denver Mint. But some of these bicentennial quarters didn't have the mint mark at all, or it was struck so poorly that it was almost impossible to see. These errors are extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors. Now, one of the most valuable of these error coins is a double die bicentennial quarter, specifically one with a D mint mark. A coin with a double die error on the obverse side, the one with George Washington's portrait, sold for over $19,000 in a private sale. When you look at these double die coins, the design on Washington's portrait appears doubled, making the coin look unique and strikingly different from the standard issue. But even if you're not lucky enough to find an error coin in your collection, the bicentennial quarters with a D mint mark are still highly collectible. They represent an important part of U.S. history, celebrating the 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. They were made during a time when the US was looking back at its revolutionary roots, and the special reverse design of a drummer boy surrounded by 13 stars pays homage to the original 13 colonies. The D Mint Mark quarters from the Bicentennial series are still relatively common, but when you factor in a rare mint error, they become a serious find for any collector. The unique design and historical importance make them great additions to any collection, especially if you manage to find one with a minting mistake. So, next time you're going through your quarters, make sure to check for a D Mint Mark on those Bicentennial coins. Who knows? You might just have a rare error coin worth thousands of dollars sitting right in your pocket. Now, let's focus on a coin that's a bit of a mystery for many collectors, the 1967 Washington Quarter. What makes this coin stand out? Well, unlike most other quarters, the 1967 Washington Quarter doesn't have a mint mark at all. It may seem like a small detail, but trust me, this one little feature makes it highly sought after, especially in pristine condition. At first glance, you might not think much of a coin from 1967, but this quarter can actually fetch up to $15,500 in the right condition. Yes, you heard that right, this seemingly ordinary coin is worth a small fortune when found in top-notch shape. So, you might be asking yourself, what makes a quarter from this era so valuable, especially one with no mint mark? Let me break it down for you. Let's start with the fact that the 1967 quarter was part of a massive batch of coins struck during the late 1960s. This was a time when the US Mint was producing a lot of quarters to keep up with the needs of the growing economy, particularly due to the demands of the Vietnam War and other economic pressures. As a result, the mint churned out large numbers of these coins. However, despite the high production, the reality is that most of these coins ended up in heavy circulation. Over time, they were worn down from being used in everyday transactions. So, finding one that's in pristine condition, free from those usual signs of wear and tear, is extremely rare. And that's what makes a high-quality 1967 quarter worth so much to collectors. Now, here's where the no mint mark feature comes into play. Normally, quarters have a mint mark on the reverse side to indicate where they were struck, either at the Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco Mint. However, in 1967, the US Mint stopped adding mint marks to certain coins, including the quarter. This was part of a transitional period in coin production when the mint was experimenting with different methods of marking their coins, as well as dealing with the public's increasing concerns over coin shortages. So, when you find a 1967 Washington quarter with no mint mark, you're holding onto a coin from a unique moment in US Mint history. Because so many of these quarters were circulated, most of them have taken a beating over the years. But the few that have survived in pristine condition, with sharp details, no scratches, and no signs of wear, are extremely valuable. That's why a 1967 Washington quarter can be worth up to $15,500, especially if it's graded highly by collectors. It's not just about the year, it's about the condition and that absence of a mint mark that makes this coin so special. In a way, this coin symbolizes a moment in US history when things were changing, politically, socially, and economically. And that tiny mint mark, or lack thereof, is a sign of that transition. The absence of it makes these coins rare and adds to their mystique, giving collectors something extra to admire and treasure. Last but certainly not least, we have the 1970 D Mint Mark Washington Quarter. This particular coin, especially in high-grade condition, has become a hot commodity in recent years. In fact, one of these quarters sold for a jaw-dropping $40,000 in June 2024, yes, $40,000. Now, you're probably wondering, what makes the 1970 D so valuable? Let's dive into it. First off, why is the 1970 D quarter worth so much? There are a few key factors at play here. While the 1970 D quarters were part of a larger mintage, there were a few minting issues that occurred during production. Some of these coins were improperly struck or didn't meet the usual quality standards set by the US Mint. These issues resulted in a significant number of 1970 D quarters being lower in quality and less desirable to collectors. Now, if you're wondering what exactly happened, here's the deal. Minting errors or issues can happen during the production process for a variety of reasons. In this case, the 1970D quarters had issues like weak strikes, where some of the details on the coin didn't come through clearly, or the edges might have been uneven. And when you're talking about high-grade coins, those kinds of imperfections are a huge deal. So, what makes the ones that have survived in high-grade condition so valuable? Well, it's simple: rarity. There are fewer of these high-quality 1970D quarters out there compared to other years. And as you probably know, in the world of coin collecting, rarity is king. A coin that's survived the test of time with minimal wear and tear, especially one that's over 50 years old, is incredibly valuable, especially when you can find one in near-perfect condition. That's why the 1970D quarter is now worth so much. Its rarity, combined with the fact that it's part of a series with historical significance, makes it incredibly sought after by collectors. And high-grade examples like the one that sold for $40,000 are the ones that really catch the eye of investors and collectors alike. Each of these quarters, whether it's the 1978D, the 1983P, the bicentennial-era coins, the 1967, or this 1970D, represents a fascinating chapter in American history. These coins tell a story of their time, and that story is exactly why collectors are so eager to pay top dollar to add them to their collections. In the end, coin collecting isn't just about making money, it's about preserving pieces of history, and these rare quarters are certainly a part of that. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into rare US quarters, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to ring the bell icon for more awesome coin stories. Who knows? You might have one of these valuable coins in your collection right now. See you next time.